According to SportsCenter's latest segment, things have taken a sharp and surprising turn for the Lakers, and not in a good way. Following an off-season packed with speculation around Dalton Knecht's future in Los Angeles, a new report surfaced this week after Summer League play that has both fans and insiders buzzing, and frankly, a little concerned. The story? His trade value has taken a significant hit, and that changes the landscape for Rob Pelinka and the Lakers' front office heading into the final stretch of the offseason. It also impacts the way they might approach the next few weeks as training camp creeps closer. And beyond Knecht, there were other team developments highlighted that suggest we could be in for a very active run-up to the regular season. Let's break this all down. First, the bombshell report from ESPN NBA insider Jovan Buha. According to multiple league conversations held during Summer League in Las Vegas, Knecht is no longer viewed as a first-round level asset by rival executive. That's a steep drop from where things stood just a few months ago, back when the Lakers were reportedly weighing a package centered around Knecht and their 2031 unprotected first-rounder. That deal, at one point, was enough to bring back players like Mark Williams, or potentially even someone like Nick Claxton. But now, after a shaky Summer League showing, where Knecht struggled to make an impact and at times looked overwhelmed against lesser competition, front offices around the league have cooled significantly. The exact quote from Buha during the segment was telling, "Summer League did not help Knecht's stock at all. At this point, he's not being valued around the league as a first-round piece." That was a consistent theme in conversations with non-Lakers personnel. People were basically saying they wouldn't give up a first-round asset for him right now. That's a drastic change from where things were just weeks ago, and it has real implications for LA's trade strategy. Back during the playoffs, the idea was that the Lakers would use Knecht plus a future pick, possibly that 2031 unprotected, to swing a win-now deal. The front office was reportedly exploring ways to bring in rim protection or perimeter defense, and names like Wiggins and Claxton were floated around internally. But none of those deals materialized, and now the Lakers are left in an awkward spot. To be fair, there's still a world in which Knecht plays a meaningful role off the bench next season. His shooting stroke, when on, is elite. He's on a rookie-scale deal, which helps in terms of cap flexibility. And the Lakers' bench is relatively thin, especially when it comes to wing scoring. So the idea that Knecht could be a useful depth piece still holds merit. The segment emphasized that his poor Summer League shouldn't be overblown. Small sample size, inconsistent roles, and subpar game environments all play a part. But perception matters in the NBA, especially when you're trying to move a young player for win-now value. And right now, the perception around Knecht is trending the wrong direction. Here's the reality. If the Lakers want to add another legitimate rotation piece before the season starts, especially a point-of-attack defender, they may now need to attach more value in any potential trade. That's where things get complicated. Remember, the Lakers have already brought in Marcus Smart, which was a huge get defensively. But they still have needs. And now, instead of Knecht being the sweetener in a deal, he might actually be seen as a throw-in. The bench depth looks solid on paper, with Smart, Gabe Vincent, rookie Bronny James likely getting some run, Jake LaRavia brought in as a shooter, plus front court guys like Jackson Hayes and a reportedly rejuvenated Jard Vanderbilt. But even with that group, the question of who's actually going to contribute meaningful playoff minutes remains wide open. In short, this recent shift in how teams view Knecht has added yet another layer of complexity to the Lakers' offseason, and it leaves the front office facing a tough decision: stay the course and hope his value rebounds, or get aggressive and package more assets to land that one final difference maker. Now, picking up where things left off, according to ESPN's SportsCenter update, the situation surrounding Dalton Knecht continues to raise eyebrows inside Lakers HQ. The concern now isn't just what's already happened, it's where things could be headed if his trajectory doesn't reverse quickly. If Knecht starts the season on the outside of the rotation, which seems like a real possibility, then any remaining trade value he holds might continue to spiral. That's especially troubling given the team's clear win-now approach. They're building around a tight core and can't afford to spend development minutes on players who aren't contributing defensively or spacing the floor at a high level. It's true, they did bring in Marcus Smart, a gritty perimeter defender who adds much-needed leadership and intensity. But beyond Smart, LA still hasn't secured another high-level wing stopper. The idea of targeting someone like Andrew Wiggins is still floating around, but nothing has materialized yet. Looking back, the shift in Knecht's perceived value is stunning. After being drafted with real optimism and impressing early last season, he hit a wall midway through the year. Things spiraled quickly, eventually leading to that now-rescinded trade to Charlotte. Since then, the narrative has changed, and that dip in production and confidence has carried over. For context, Knecht finished last season averaging 9 points per game while shooting 37% from deep. Not bad on paper, but the issues ran deeper. His defensive lapses became a real problem. He was slow on closeout, struggled in transition defense, and often looked disengaged on that side of the ball. Even when Luka Doncic arrived and helped spark the offense, Knecht's game never fully adjusted. He caught some easy buckets on fast breaks, sure, but that wasn't enough to mask the defensive concerns. What made it worse, according to analysts on SportsCenter, was the overall lack of reliable wing defenders on last year's roster. Between players dealing with injuries and others being more offensive-minded, the Lakers were often exposed on the perimeter. It forced tough decisions in the playoffs, and Knecht, in the end, was left out of the rotation altogether. He didn't play meaningful postseason minutes, and down the stretch of the regular season, his role shrank dramatically. Now, ESPN insiders believe the Lakers are in a difficult position. On one hand, you don't want to sell low on a recent first-round pick, especially not for a second-round return or as a throw-in piece. On the other, you can't afford to keep dead weight on the bench when the goal is to contend. The ideal solution? Knecht either reclaims his role with stronger play this season or becomes part of a package deal, potentially in a trade for a more established wing like Wiggins. But as of right now, the market simply isn't seeing him that way. Still, some optimism remains. As discussed on the segment, there's still potential for Knecht to find his footing. The bench is thin enough that he could carve out a valuable scoring role, assuming he tightens up the other parts of his game. But it's going to take more than just hitting threes. He'll need to prove that he can stay locked in on both ends of the court. And for fans hoping he's included in a larger deal, the front office likely agrees. The hope would be to package him in a way that upgrades the rotation without giving up too much draft capital. But as things stand, that's a tougher sell than it was a few months ago. Meanwhile, there were a few more notable updates on Lakers bench players. Jake LaRavia, recently signed and expected to provide some much-needed shooting depth, spoke out about the Marcus Smart signing, and his comments reflect the mood around the locker room. "He's a dog," LaRavia said. "He brings energy, he makes the unselfish plays, and he's a vocal leader. That's exactly the type of presence we needed." The idea of Smart being inserted into the starting lineup is gaining traction too. It raises questions about Austin Reeves or Rui Hachimura potentially moving to the second unit. Reeves has the skill set to adapt either way, and Rui's ability to stretch the floor could complement Luka well, especially in lineups where spacing is key. In fact, the ideal starting five proposed during the segment was intriguing. Luka Doncic, Marcus Smart, LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, and DeAndre Ayton. That would give the team toughness, shooting, defensive identity, and playmaking. It would also push Reeves into a sixth-man role, something he's handled before. Would Reeves be happy with that role after his breakout year? Hard to say, but it would certainly strengthen the bench, which now includes Gabe Vincent, Bronny James, Jake LaRavia, and Knecht, assuming he sticks. Add in Jackson Hayes and Jared Vanderbilt, and suddenly, the second unit starts to look a lot more balanced, especially if Vanderbilt can stay healthy and LaRavia shoots well. One final update from the bench unit. Jordan Goodwin, previously part of the Lakers' rotation in spurts, has now officially been picked up by the Phoenix Suns. No surprise there. He's a high-energy guard who's shown flashes of being a solid role player. His departure was largely a result of the Smart acquisition, a necessary roster adjustment that reflects LA's shifting priority. The Lakers made a necessary move by waiving Jordan Goodwin and Shabazz Milton, creating space to activate the biannual exception. It wasn't that they didn't try to find trades for some of their expiring deals. They did, but nothing materialized. Still, there's optimism they might pull something off before the season tips off. Focusing on Jordan Goodwin's departure, it does offer a bit of financial relief. His contract was worth $2.3 million, but only $25,000 was guaranteed. That small amount now clears off the books entirely. If Goodwin had stayed on the roster past January 7th, the full amount would have been protected. So, from a financial perspective, this was a low-risk move with potential upside. And while the savings may be modest, it opens the door for other opportunity. Trevor Lane pointed out that Goodwin could very well find another opportunity with a different franchise. He brought solid effort during his stint in LA, and it's good to see him land in Phoenix, a team going through major changes after the Kevin Durant trade. It'll be interesting to see how Goodwin fits in there. What started off with so much promise has taken quite a few turns, and fans are still trying to process where this team stands. But at the end of the day, the Lakers remain one of the league's premier rosters, and with Luka Doncic now leading the way, the ceiling is as high as ever. Let me know what you think about these recent developments. Thanks for sticking with us and watching.